Hello everybody, I hope we're doing well today. My name is EM.Dennehy. Some of you might already recognize me from my live streams and my videos. It's been a while since I've made a video, so I thought, I might as well sit down and just talk about a few topics. So again, I hope we're all doing well. I hope you had a lovely Christmas. Yeah, let's get right down to it. So, my first topic that I want to talk to, it's not directly related to TUSLA, but it's in relation to the government. So it's government control. So, as you all know, in this country, I've said this before, the government wants us to think we have rights. Really, when it comes down to it, we don't have rights. And the rights we do have is a very grey area, for example, hate speech and freedom of speech. So, this one confuses me a lot because, again, it's our right that we have freedom of speech, but then it's a crime if we do hate speech. But if you actually go on to gov.ie, it doesn't state the difference between hate speech and freedom of speech. There's no clear lines on what this includes. What is free speech? What is hate speech exactly? Well, in my opinion, hate speech is just hypocrisy. I mean, like, for example, my freedom of speech can say, oh yeah, I think Lidl have the best prices for your dinners, your local dinners or whatever. That's freedom of speech. But then if I was to go and say that Tuslar and the government and the Gardaí, they're all pigs and they're shite, well then suddenly that's not freedom of speech, that's hate speech. And obviously, who decides that's hate speech? Themselves, the government. So that's why I don't agree with that. That's one of the examples of our rights that don't really exist when you think about it. Also, another right that we believe we have is consent of many, like there's many genres of consent: sexual, mental consent, location consent in terms of kidnapping. Do you consent to being in this location, or are you being held against your will? That one I'm going to talk about specifically. So, as a child in care, that doesn't actually apply to me, because if someone was to take me out of my care home, or just any child, right, and they were to take them against their will, say, you're coming here, you don't get a choice, right? End of story. That's kidnap, right? They would be charged with one of many things: child abduction, kidnapping, child endangerment, and stuff like that. But then, as a young person in care, that reverses, the tables reverse. Because if you look at the law, under Section 12 of a Missing Young Persons Act in Care, the Gardaí are authorised to actually use physical force and force you back to your home or your care home or wherever it is you live, regardless of what's going on in that house or whether if you consent to it. It's happened before where I have ran away and the Gardaí have brought me back, and I said, Garda, I don't consent to going back. I don't want to go back. I don't feel safe there. And their response is, tough shit, you're going back there, end of story. And it's either you comply or they'll use physical force and they'll still force you. But obviously, as soon as they use physical force, I count that as assault, because then what they're doing is they're using violence, because it is violence, to touch someone, especially a child, in any way where they're not consenting to that. That is an act of violence. So they use violence to force a child to go somewhere they don't consent, which is going against their rights. So it's very clear here that our rights are very conditional. They're very it's not a physical thing. It's an illusion. It's a system that keeps us in order and directs us to do what the government wants us to do. When it comes to freedom of speech and consent and your right of personal space and privacy, for example. Privacy is another one, because when you look at, we have the right of privacy, but then if you're missing or if you're doing something that you're not permitted to do, they will track your IP address on your socials, they'll track your location, they demand your phone number. Anytime you have an interaction with the Gardaí, they actually demand your phone number, your address, and your personal details, and if you don't, you can be arrested for that too. So we also don't have any right of privacy in this country. So it's just all hypocrisy. It's a big system that's designed to suit themselves and that allows them to do what they want to do without anybody questioning it or without them actually getting any justice, which is very disappointing. It says a lot when we live in a country where we don't have equal white rights. We're not free people, and we're locked up in this cage. It's like I said, it's an illusion. Nothing the government do is physical. It's all an illusion. It's all imaginary. It's a picture. Like, if we all stand up as a community and say, no, we are not doing this, they actually have no power. They only have power because we let them have power. We actually physically, like, we don't realize what we're consenting to. Like, for example, when you go onto a website and you press OK, allow data, or allow cookies, or whatever, and we don't read that. We don't actually pay attention to what we're consenting to, which is such a dangerous and silly thing. People will have these documents, they don't read them, they just sign it, they just, it's complete madness, and we can only blame ourselves for that part of it as well. So that's that topic about the government. The other topic I want to talk about is the illusion that TUSA are run by the government. So, not many people know, TUSA is an NGO, non-governmental organisation. And it was created and founded in England. I'm not sure where in England. But when you look at policies and procedures and facts and all these legal things about TUSA, it's very much made out to be a government organisation. But it's actually not, and not many people know that, and it is disgusting that they can get away with that lie, because they know for TUSA to have the power that they have, it has to be ran by the government. But it's not, so that's a crime within itself. We all know that the government, or not the government, we all know that the Gardaí work with TUSA. But how can that be so if it's not run by the government? Because the Gardaí are run by the government. So imagine it like this. You have Gardaí working for TUSA that are ran by the government, but TUSA aren't actually ran by the government themselves. To me that makes no sense. I can't understand that. But it does allow them to have a lot of secrets and lies about what's going on in the background, and all I can say is just don't believe anything that you hear about TUSA or the government or any of our systems. It's just one big system. Like, when we look at the guards, the HSE, TUSA, we look at them as all separate systems. The Gardaí are one group, TUSA is another group, the government is another group. It's not. They all combine together, they all work together in some shape or form to create this one big system. And that's the law, that's protection, that's our rights of citizens in this country or any country. It applies everywhere. So it's all a fake system. It's all an illusion. It's not real. And another thing I want to mention is, now that I've mentioned TUSA, is the missing children in TUSA. There is a child who's missing at the moment. I can't remember his name. He was living up in Kildare. He's only 14. He's been missing for a few days. My own situation I'm not going to mention or discuss. But there are thousands of missing children, and what I don't appreciate about that is we'll see, missing, and then a few days or weeks or months or whenever, it'll be updated. Found, well and safe. Meanwhile, you've had all these people literally deep in the forest, over the deserts, in the ocean, everywhere imaginable. You have people breaking their back looking for these people, getting money together, getting social communication together, building up this big group and community for finding these children, which is such a good thing of our citizens to do. And then it's just, oh, fine, found, case closed, feck off now. With no explanation on where these children are going, why they're missing, where and how they were found. Like, there's no actual information. For all we know, they weren't found. Do you get me? Like, a child could go missing and they could say the child was found. How do we know that? For all we know, that could be a cover-up as well. And that's another one of the lies, because there's no information or facts behind what is going on today. All these children missing, no explanation on why they're missing. But I'll tell you the explanation. It's because of what's going on within the system, how the government and TUSA are treating our children, and the way the Gardaí are supporting abuse, they're supporting neglect, and they're supporting hypocrisy, because it's their money, it's their income at the end of the day. And unfortunately, none of them speak up. None of them speak up. I mean, look, this Facebook group, TUSA Not Fit for Purpose, I think it's amazing, and there's hundreds of people. But it's still happening. Now, I genuinely believe that 2024 is the last year of TUSA. They're gone. They're gone. And I think 2024 is going to be a big year. Things are going to change for TUSA. But I think not just TUSA. I think the whole system, it's going to be very different without TUSA. And if we keep speaking up, we need to speak up. We need to fight. We cannot sit in our houses lying in bed feeling sorry for ourselves saying we hate the system. If you hate it, I'm sorry, but you have to do something about it. That's why I'm sitting here speaking up, even though I'm only 15. Because I know what happens today, what happens tomorrow, will have an impact on my whole life, my children's lives, generations to come. Look at our ancestors. If they hadn't done what they had done, who knows what this generation would be like? Who knows what the next generation would be like? So we need to come together as a community and fight for our rights and fight for what we believe in, and especially as a community, because a group of people, I've always said this, a group of people make a lot more noise than one single person. Me, as a single person, speaking out against the government, they can easily lock me up for that, right? Lots of people have. Angela Ray, Bridget, loads of people. I think Patrick something, I don't know his second name, Angela would have mentioned him, I think he was locked up as well. But the thing is, if we, as hundreds of people, thousands of people speak up, they can't lock us all up, they can't lock up the whole country. That's why lockdown was created. COVID lockdown was created to try and punish us, because look at the way we were speaking up before that as well. They knew they could only arrest so many people. So what do? They created another false illusion, a system. If you go down the road to see your own family or your child or your friends or go to work, you'll be arrested, you must stay in your house. We were basically all on house arrest. And again, we all complied because we were afraid, oh, I'll be arrested, I'll go to jail. But we need to get rid of the me, I, myself. And we need to start focusing as us, Ireland, the community, our citizens. If we as a community don't comply, what can they do then? So that's all for today's video anyways. Thank you very much for watching it, and I would love if you could share it as well to get more people seeing this story. Again, stay safe and please do not fall for the false delusions. God bless.